Welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well let's learn English together. Hello again, people. Yes, it's us again, invading your home with the English language, battering down your defences against the English language and taking no prisoners. So, welcome to the lesson and sorry about that aggressive start. I'm not sure where that came from. All right, so we're all here, I'm here and you're there. We're all here and we're all ready. You are all ready, aren't you? Okay, in that case, let's get the show on the road. No, let's stay in the studio. Okay, let's stay in the studio, but we're still going to get the show on the road because we're starting now. Okay, what day is it? Daft question. It's Tuesday. Yes, it's tremendous Tuesday. And that means that we're starting day 2 of the mini revision. Yes. Week 90, lesson 442, day 2 of the mini revision. Here we go, people, here we go. Okay, so on we go, into Tuesday. All right, so yesterday we caught up with the present simple using the verb to be. Good. And now, today, we're going to have a brief look at using the present simple with other verbs, verbs which aren't the verb to be. All right, so what do we have to be careful with? Where are the danger zones here? Well, the main danger zone, the main area where we have to stay on our toes, the time where we have to keep our eyes peeled, is when we're using verbs in the present simple tense with the third person singular, isn't it? We all know that we use the present simple to talk about things which are true in general, things which don't change, things which happen all the time or things which happen sometimes. I like computer games. The bank opens at 9 o'clock and closes at 4:30. Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi lives in South Africa. We do interesting things every weekend. It likes to sleep a lot. So, we know when we use the present simple. That's not the difficult part, is it? No. The area where we have to be careful, the time when we have to use caution, is when we're making sentences with the third person singular as the subject. If we're making a sentence where the subject is he, she, or it, then we remember that there is a spelling change in verbs in the present simple tense. Yes. And what happens with most verbs? What is the spelling change which we make with most verbs in the present simple when we're using the third person singular? Yes, that's right. With most verbs, we add s to the end of the infinitive when we're making a sentence with the third person singular as the subject. I like carrots, but he likes broccoli. You drive a car, but she drives a bus. We sleep 8 hours a day, the dog sleeps 12 hours a day, and the cat sleeps 18 hours a day. So, as we can see, when we're using the third person singular, we have to add an s to the infinitive of the verb to make the correct form. All right, but there are a few places where we have to be careful, aren't there? Yes. Think about the following cases. What if the verb ends in s, or sh, or ch, or x? What about situations where the verb ends in a y? What if the verb ends in o? All right, well let's take those categories one at a time. If the verb ends in s, or sh, or ch, or x, then when we're making a sentence using the third person singular, we don't add s. That would make the verb impossible to pronounce. No. If the verb ends in s, or sh, or ch, or x, then we don't add s, we add es. So, with verbs like the verb to kiss, or to fish, or to approach, or the verb to fix, we know that when the subject is the third person singular, we add es, not s, to the end of the verb. I kiss my wife, she kisses me. I fish in the Danube, Peggy fishes in the lake. I approach the fence, the animal approaches the fence. I fix things, he fixes things. All right. Okay, so what else is difficult? Well, that's an exaggeration, isn't it? This isn't difficult. These are just a few spelling rules which we have to pay attention to. Now, where else do we have to be careful? Yes, there's more, isn't there? Yes, there are more spelling changes we need to pay attention to, as we know. So, what about verbs which end in Y? Well, these verbs split into two groups. Verbs which end in consonant plus Y and verbs which end in vowel plus Y. All right. Now, we all remember which letters are vowels, don't we? Yes, of course. The vowels are the letters A, E, I, O, and U. Okay. Now, what about the consonants? Well, that's easy. To identify the consonants in the English alphabet, all we have to do is remove the vowels from the alphabet. The letters we have left, those are the consonants. So, take the vowels out of the alphabet, and what do we have left? Yes, those are the consonants. All of those exciting letters like B and C and G and J. All right, now back to the spelling. What changes do we make to the verb when it ends in vowel plus Y? Well, if the verb ends in vowel plus Y, like the verb to play, for example, we add S, just like we do with most verbs for the third person singular in the present simple. I play squash, she plays tennis. I enjoy my weekends, he enjoys his weekends. I stay with my parents, the dog also stays with my parents. All right, but what if the verb ends in consonant plus Y? Well, in that case, we change the ending. We remove the Y and add IES. I study at school, she studies at home. I try hard every day, he tries hard every day. I fry eggs for breakfast, my wife fries eggs for breakfast. All right, so what do we do with verbs which end in O? Well, when the subject is the third person singular and the verb ends in O, we don't add S, but once again we add ES. So we have to change do to does and go to goes when we're using those verbs in a present simple sentence with the third person singular. I go home after work, she goes to school every day. I do my work, he does his homework. All right, and is there anything else? Yes, there is, isn't there? And there's another group, isn't there? Yes, the group which don't pay attention to logic. The mad group, the irregular verbs. Verbs like the verb to have and the verb to be. As we've already seen, these verbs are irregular. They don't follow the same pattern as the other verbs. I am, you are, he, she, it is. We are, you are, they are. I have, you have, he, she, it has. We have, you have, they have. So, those are irregular verbs, and the name tells us that they're not normal, they're not regular, they're irregular. All right, now, what's next? Well, we have to think next about what happens when we want to make negative sentences or ask questions in the present simple, don't we? I mean, I know that we all know, but we need to check things. So, we know how to make negative sentences and ask questions using the verb to be in the present simple. Okay, and using that knowledge, we can also do the same using the verb to have, can't we? If we want to make a negative sentence in the present simple using the verb to have, then we know that we have to add the adverb not after the correct form of the verb. So, that gives us I have not, haven't. You have not, haven't. He, she, it has not, hasn't. We have not, haven't. You have not, haven't. They have not, haven't. All right, well, that was simple enough, wasn't it? Yes, just as we did with the irregular verb to be. When we want to make a negative sentence using the verb to have in the present simple tense, we follow it with the adverb not. Okay, but what about when we want to make a question using the verb to have? Well, what do we have to do to make questions in English? Yes, we have to swap the subject and verb around, don't we? Yes, so that means that instead of saying I have, we're going to ask a question using the form of have I. Have I got anything in my teeth? Have we got any bread? Have you got a nice flat? Have you got any money? Has he, she, it got a headache? Have they got a monkey? All right, but what about asking questions and making negatives with other verbs in the present simple tense? What do we do when we're not using the verb to be or the verb to have? What happens then? Yes, that's right. This is the time when we need an auxiliary verb to help us, isn't it? And what do we know about the word auxiliary? Yes, that's right. A synonym for auxiliary could be helping. We use this verb to help us ask questions and make negatives. It helps us to do this. So, when we're dealing with the present simple, which auxiliary verb do we use? Yes, that's right. In the present simple, when we want to ask questions or make negative sentences, we use the verb to do as an auxiliary verb. Okay, so how does that change things? Well, think about a normal positive sentence in the present simple. I work in a bank. Now, how are we going to change that sentence into a negative, for example? Well, all we have to do is use the auxiliary verb to do. So, how do we do that? Well, we have to add the auxiliary verb to the sentence. Okay, but where does it go? The auxiliary verb follows the subject. So that means that in the example sentence, we're going to follow the subject, I, with the correctly conjugated form of the verb to do, I do, and then, because we want to make a negative sentence, we have to add the adverb not to the end of do. I do not, or the abbreviated form, I don't. I work in a bank. I do not work in a bank. All right, so that's an example of how we change a sentence using the first person singular from a positive sentence into a negative sentence. But what about the other subjects? Well, what do we all remember about the conjugation of the verb to do? Yes, that's right. All of the forms are the same, apart from which one? I do, you do, he, she, it does. We do, you do, they do. Yes, the only different form is the third person singular. So that means that if we're making a negative sentence in the present simple about I, you, or any of the plural forms, then we follow the same pattern. I do not work in a bank. You do not work in a bank. He, she, it. We do not work in a bank. You do not work in a bank. They do not work in a bank. And we're done for the day. Yes, that lesson whizzed past like something that was moving very fast indeed, didn't it? Yes, it did. All right, well, that's all the time we've got for you today, and now that means that you're free to do whatever you want to do. Go for a walk, go for a run, run about in the park like a mad chicken, whatever you feel like. As for me, I'm going home, and when I get home, I'm going to have a coffee. After that, well, who knows or dares to dream? We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Well, one thing that we know will happen is that I'll be back on your TV screens tomorrow at the same time. So I'll see you then, okay? I'll be the one on this side of the TV, all right? All right. In that case, it's a date. See you tomorrow. See you later. www.mediaclick.hu. Bye!